Niiamah, Sean here, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey. We're here with an Outliers Edge roundtable that is here to guarantee to like lift you up, give you energy, and help you continue to move forward to higher and higher heights. Today, we have an incredible group of people who are joining us. Ujwal, Christiane, I'm so grateful that you said yes to this conversation. I'm looking forward to what we create together. Thanks for being here.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to get to know you. So, Ujwal, let's start with you. Would you mind letting us know more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Sure. I'm an anthropologist by training and an entrepreneur by vocation, I guess. And the game is really about being able to see things that aren't always visible on the surface. The invisible game, if you will. For me, what's interesting about life and work is that, we all understand that there are a set of rules we all have to play by. But the people that I find that can achieve the most or make the most change or do the things that gives them a sense of joy, a sense of fulfillment are people that are really good at reading what's in between the lines, reading the invisible part of the game, trying to understand, okay, for example, if my boss is saying something, what do they actually mean? Or if the market is saying something, my customer is saying something, what do they actually need? So that's my life is sort of dedicated to playing that game myself and then trying to teach other people how to do that. Um, yeah, and that's I think partly what makes me a bit of an outlier as well.
I love this here as well, and I'm definitely going to be exploring the invisible here as we continue along. So, thank you very much for bringing that into this space. All right. Christiane, let's get to know you. Do you mind sharing with the outliers more about you and the game you were playing?
I was born in a small town outside Ottawa from a very working class type of family, and I always took I never took anything for granted. So there was also always something happening for a reason. So then I at the first job I had, it was like a very interesting, was about helping other people in developed countries. So that's the first thing I did. Is I took up a job there in South Africa. I lived there, small single mother with two young kids. That was kind of challenging, and I said yes, and everybody thought I will never get there, for some reason. I don't know. I only had like a not a I didn't do my I didn't do my bachelor's degree then. I didn't have my bachelor's degree, but I still was able to administer a project in South Africa. When I came back to Canada, then I moved to Toronto quickly, and then moved to Montreal. I lived there for about 9 years, and then that's when I did my bachelor's degree and my the post university degree at the same time. So that was crazy time. So I had to call on my mom and dad to help me with the house and everything because I had to work also. It was kind of difficult, but I still had, and like I said, I never take anything for granted because it's important that where you come from, you have to remember that, okay, and you have to remember that. We're, we're unique, we are, each of us has a DNA, so we're completely unique within my family. Was still very unique, this four
Mm,
of us. So, and then I have two kids that are very different from me, and what's important is to respect, what's the wishes somebody wants to do. Like for me, I wanted to go to South Africa, so my mom and dad, because I was a single mother, they took care of my kids while I was there. My mother brought them to me in South Africa and everything. So people thought I was crazy, but I was not. So I knew what I was doing. So,
spoken
and
like a
then
true outlier there, Christiane. Like
yeah,
people thought I was crazy, you know. I
yeah,
think I'm gonna like take a little bit off from that here because it gives us some space to really go and play with each other, right? So we
mhm,
have like as I'm listening to both of you, like there's two things that I'm already hearing in this space. One is being able to see the invisible, to make the invisible visible. Like
mhm.
and how do you navigate that? And then two, the other thing that I'm hearing here is this element of like of choosing what you want and going after it regardless of what everyone else says or what like what might be expected, right? So I'm seeing both of those things already coming into this place, and I would love to play with that more because I know that outliers are living in those two worlds right now, you know.
Mhm.
um Let's start off here. I think I'm going to start off with seeing the invisible right now, because and we'll see what we will play with it. So the way that I love to ask questions here is like I'm going to ask it. I don't have anyone in particular that I'm like asking the question to. Like if something in the question like moves you, like reach up, like unmute, just talk. All right, and then we'll just navigate it from there. So, seeing the invisible, I think there's two things that become really interesting to me when I think about that. Here, there's one element about the skill set of being able to see the invisible, and the other element about like our like the whether or not we are allowing ourselves to be visible to other people, right? So the things that we hold in. So why don't we break them up into two different places here first? The first question I would ask is like, what are the like? I see like usually you have like invisible rules. So I keep thinking about that and and the
Yeah.
way I'm framing the question. But like I'm curious about like what are the invisible rules that you have chosen to live by? Not the ones that are out there for other people, but what are the rules that like if someone wouldn't know, but this is how you both have created your success in some type of way. Usually we might get us started.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that, for example, what Christian shared about her journey that resonated with me as well. So, for example, I grew up in India. I immigrated to Canada about 20 years ago. But growing up in a middle class family where, it was a struggle, for my parents' generation to get where they got. It's kind of
Okay.
ingrained in you that you don't go pursue the social sciences, you don't pursue the arts, you don't pursue the humanities, you pursue the hard sciences, right? So go get an engineering degree, even though I hated it. Right? I moved to Canada, took on all this student debt to do an MBA. Why? I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it was helpful, but it wasn't my passion.
Mm,
So these are examples where it takes time to realize you're living by someone else's rules. And that someone else doesn't have to be just your parents, right? It's society, it's the culture around you,
Mhm.
it's your friends, your colleagues. Everybody has invisible rules. And by the way, these rules exist everywhere. For example, my first job, we would sit around in the boardroom, and the rule was that unless you were spoken to, especially if you were a first year hire, you would not open your mouth, right? That's an example of these rules that you're supposed to live by, right? So to me, the question then always begets, okay, if that is a rule, what is invisible in that, right? So the invisible element in that is, okay, why don't you open your mouth? Because they're assuming you don't have anything of value to contribute to the conversation in that boardroom, right? So then the game always became for me, how do I find something super valuable to say and break the rule? And that's literally my life, right? But you have to figure out what is the invisible rule, and you got to break it. And so you got to do the work for it. It doesn't come free, right? But the moment, and I remember the first time I opened my mouth and how everybody kind of looked at me going, why is he talking? But I had something of value to say, and my boss's boss, the VP, then was very interested and then asked me to engage further, and we had a discussion. And I walked out feeling like I was on cloud nine. I was the hero
mm,
in that
mm,
meeting.
mm, mm, mm.
But it's just because I asked, okay, if that's the rule, what's the underlying reason, the invisible part of it, and then how can I navigate that?
Yeah, I love this element here. So it's like like being able to see, like we see what's there. It almost seems like you found like the loophole for it. It's like, well, actually, this rule was in place because we wanted to get X, Y, Z, and oh man, it feels so outliery because it's almost it feels like the rules in place because 97% of the time, like it works. But for those 3% of the times, if you can figure out what like that 3% like loophole is, then you get a chance to go through. And I think that like that 3% loophole, like I myself, I'm an African American that's like been in tech and in actuarial science. Like there was only 3% of actuaries or tech people that were African American. I'm like, somehow I found like that, there was some invisible rule, and I don't think I ever looked at it from this perspective, but there was something in there that I was like, oh, I can still like navigate and get through because I figured out something underneath the surface. Thanks there. I'm going to come back to you with one other question here, Ujwal. And what I want to do is I want to see how like what's an invisible rule that you live by that other people might see you? They might even watch you right now and think that they get you, they get the rule that's there. And I'm be really curious about what's something that's invisible with you that actually helps drive you forward. All right, Chris. Yeah, let me come back. I want to bring Christiane in real quick here, and then I'll come back to that same question. So, Christiane, for you, like I want to get a chance to see like how you've navigated things, you've done things where people said like it couldn't be done, or like, and you made it come to life. And it seems that you live by some invisible rules that most other people wouldn't even like think about. So, so like, and if I don't want to like mess up the invisible rule elements, but like you do things differently, you know? And so would you mind letting us know some of the things that you do that might be invisible to others that like actually allow you to like fuel you in the way that you move?
Well, the first thing I would say is you have to believe in yourself, okay? That's important. And you have to believe in yourself, but you have to wear blue glasses at the same time. So you cannot say, oh, I'm going to do this and this is going to be perfect, and then jump off the airplane, with no parachute, So you have to be very aware that what you want, you have to make sure you've got the capability to do it, to deliver. Okay, that's important. When I did my MBA and I did my master's degree also, and I knew I was capable of doing it. I really knew it, and I wanted the same grade I had I have another post-university degree. I wanted to have like a top 3 in the class, and then one of my colleagues at the university said, Christiane, we were working at the same time. I had a son also that had chemo, was going through chemotherapy. And he said to me, he said, Christiane, tell me who's going to see all your results, They're going to see the diploma, that's it. They're not going to see your results. So I said, yeah, you're smart, And I always thought I had to be on the top, which doesn't make sense, It didn't make sense at all. I knew I was capable of doing it, so... And so it was a 2-year program full-time, and I also worked full-time. So I knew I was capable, but just I didn't focus on my red. I only saw pink lenses instead of blue lenses. So believing in yourself is the most important thing. And also, I always ask, because never presume that somebody else is going to say no. Okay, so I did some type of financing where I worked, and then one of my colleagues, which I adore, he said to me, Christiane, we'll do this one once, but don't come back with another one like that. So there was like some structured financing that was pretty weird, to do. And then, but I ask, so never be afraid to ask, because you don't know what the other person's going to tell you. So, and then I always say I had such great bosses in my life. I was very, and then at one point I had this like, excuse me, but SHA,
Yep.
shitty job,
Yep.
So, but I didn't stay there. So either I had to move out, okay, or he left. But there was no way he was going to leave. He wanted his pension, so he's going to stick to it. So I didn't want to fight that. That was not a fight for me. To win, I knew I was better than him, and I knew also I was better than that. It was not part of my skills. I didn't have that type of skills. So, and I find it, and then the reason, and that was like the first thing I did is I say after my MBA. So what I want to do in life, so I'm a great consultant. So I have to say it, but I'm a super great consultant, and
I love that you own that, by the way. Like
we have to,
like that component. Yeah, no, but not all of us do. Not all of us do. Outliers. Did you pick up on that? Right? Did you pick up on that? Like there was an ownership of it, and like what I got was that it's true, right? It's like there's no reason to feel some type of way about it. Like if you're speaking your truth on that one, right? Christiane, let me ask you, like if you had to give Outliers like 3 bullets of what you found like that play for your invisible rules, what would those 3 be? Based on what you said, if you had to summarize it for us.
Believe in yourself, okay, but also make sure. Do you understand me? Yeah.
Yep.
Believe in yourself. Make sure you've got all the information before you jump. Okay, that's important. And also, I would say, you can accept a no as an answer, okay, but don't expect it to be a no. So you've got to go and find out if it's going to be a no first. So just be a bit like I really love the invisible rules, by the way. So you have to go a bit deeper and see what's the underlining reason why they would say no, and then you've got to convince the person to do it. So that's the magic. So the magic happens when you have to convince someone to do something that's not in the rules, that's not in the books. That's what I did most of the time in my previous job. So that
So
was
this is
fun.
like,
So
I'm like Ujwal, like feel free to just jump in if there's anything like flowing for you as this conversation is going on. But there's a couple things that I'm like, I want to make sure I don't miss it because there's some hidden things in what you're saying. So one of them right here was the magic happens when they say no. Right. I've been spending some time now, like entering into
mhm.
like sales and just like working on that skill set with my business and beyond. And it was really, I was listening to someone and he's like, hey, look, if you're not actually getting a no and then making the and then taking that to someone being enrolled, then you're not actually selling. Like you're just like, you're just taking orders at that point. Like there's a difference between that. And I think that like that was just a really powerful reframe for me to kind of look at things and be like, oh, I've been afraid of hearing the no, but like that's when the game starts. And so when Christiane, when you say like the magic happens when you get a no, like I think that's a completely different thing. Like to be like, oh, now the game begins. Now I got to try and see how do I navigate this here because
Exactly.
I and you put another thing with that where you said like um I can't remember the exact word, but like it's like you can know that a no is possible, but you're not acting with like the expectation you're gonna go find out, you're gonna make them say it. Like there's some
Completely.
element to that, Christian, that I thought was like also just like a completely like counterintuitive way to most of the way that I'm a recovering people pleaser. So most of the way that I grew up, be curious what's coming through. Ujwal, anything
Yeah,
that's popping off for you on this?
I would love to just add a point that, we talk a lot about being comfortable hearing no, being comfortable with rejection. Certainly in entrepreneurship, it's every book talks about, the resiliency you need to be an entrepreneur. To me, yes, all that is required, but the missing element is when somebody says no, you have to be able to figure out why they said no
Mhm.
beyond the obvious logical reasons, right? And so, because the problem is oftentimes we don't know if, because the easiest thing people do, because everybody wants to be polite, right? So people will say it's a no because something is just not the right time. But that's not really the answer, is it? So what is it? So for example, when we started our last business, oftentimes I would hear it's just not the right time. But when we actually started to ask why, people would, first of all, they're taken aback that you actually want to discuss that and have a conversation about it. And you ask them to help you understand what does make the time right, right? If now's not the right time. And then you realize, okay, there's something going on internally, politically within the organization. They've
Yeah.
just, yeah, I don't know, let go a couple people. Everybody's worried about their jobs. Nobody wants to hire a new technology or a new vendor. Cool. That's an important insight. And that's what I mean by, as an example, a very tangible example of an invisible rule that isn't spoken out loud. But when you have a very human conversation with somebody and say, hey, it's okay, I can handle it. Just help me understand why it's a no. Is there something fundamentally wrong with the product I'm selling, or is there something else that's driving it? And let's talk about that because it'll help me learn and understand the landscape. Generally, people are quite receptive to that. And I always tell salespeople that I talk to, or even salespeople that I've hired and trained, to make that a real habit, because when you don't really understand the psychological side of why the no happened.
Hmm.
Okay, Christian, is there something you want to say to that?
Sorry. Also, sometimes we have, as an entrepreneur, have to say no to things. Okay, no to offers, no to clients. Me, I'm I'm a very patient person. But if I say something three times and it's kind of shitty, so that's a no for me. Out.
Right.
Client, I don't want to work with that type of client. And in 2019, I had a breast cancer diagnosis,
Mhm.
and I could have said no I just drop all my business, sell it, and so what I did instead is I sold part of it to my son, and I kept some part of the business. And I decided, this is not going to be a war with the cancer. I'm just going to accept it. Okay, accept it's there, and then follow the rules, follow the doctor. And I digged a lot of information about my doctor and everything. So I knew she was very compassionate with people and everything. So I had to navigate that big storm that lasted about a year, just for your information. And I also had to ask my sister, that's not an accountant, by the way. So I had to call my sister. I said, I need your help, because I'm not gonna go through it. And I couldn't just shut down my business, because it was during COVID, by the way. So as we were like considered as an essential type of company, so we had to still be open. So I called my sister, please help me. So we'll figure this out. And I had a plan B, so she took the plan B, she put it in place. So I was able to get through my treatments, for surgery and everything. And then I didn't want to quit everything, because my passion was to help my clients. And my passion, it's like it was fuel for me, okay, to get over this big problem. So, like I said, we sometimes have to say no, but we have to make sure also we have the help also to, let's say, if you have to step away from your business because you're sick, or your son is sick, or your daughter is sick, or your sweet BF is sick. So you need to sometimes to make a clear decision. And clarity for me is very important. So get as much, you cannot have all the information, okay, but you get as much information as you can, and then try to drive with that, and then make something happen. So that's
So I'm
what
gonna
I
like
did.
play off. I'm loving this. Yeah, I'm gonna keep playing off of these as it comes along. And outliers, like as we're talking here, like Ujwal is sharing like how he's seeing the world. Christiane's sharing how she sees the world, and like the thing that I'm seeing is that like you figured out how to do you consistently, right? And so
Mhm.
while we're having this conversation, outliers, I'm gonna also invite you to start asking yourself, if you were here, if we were being asked this conversation, if you were in this conversation right now, how would you be responding to this right here? Because there's something in there. There's one of my Ujwal, let me know if I'm doing this right. So I'm gonna play a little bit with the invisible rules. I think I'm seeing like two really cool themes that is coming out. But one of the things that has been really playing with me, I think like a lot of like distinctions. So trying to understand two words, like what is the nuance between two things. And the other thing that I like to look at is like what's the counterintuitive component. And I've heard a
Yeah.
lot of people say that like success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. And the thing that has been running through the back of my mind recently was just like, oh, I love working with outliers because success does leave clues. But the thing about it is that like we're always told to go look at other people's success and go follow them, as opposed to looking
Mhm.
at the fact that like we have also had success. What clues do we have? What clues have we learned about our own elements to be able to go and make that come to life? And like, so now I'm talking to both of you are authors, and so I'm like I can imagine that part of what you've had to do was actually unpack the things that you were doing in a more like constructive way to be able to go lead and help other people with this here. Tell us about that experience of like really like understanding like the thing that you're doing. Like Ujo, I wonder like when you're like that's an invisible rule, or when you're like I could tell that there's a process that you have, and I'm like how did you go through the process
Yeah.
of even figuring that out for yourself?
I think, and you're so right. I think part of that realization didn't come to me until after I had sold my business.
Mm,
After going through the exit, and working in a private equity environment, trying to apply what I had learned building the business to now a slightly different environment where there's an established mid-market business. Suddenly I had no choice but to kind of reflect back and think about all the things I did right, and what were the factors that led us down that path, right? And that reflective journey was critical, because that's when I realized that I had inadvertently followed methodology, so to speak, without really
Mhm.
realizing it, and in many ways had brought in my own training as an anthropologist to the everyday work I was doing with customers and with clients to try to kind of hack my way through, right? Because I think that's what we do when we're resource constrained. We try to rely on the things that we know in order to solve that problem. So that was my world, and so I was resource constrained, building a business. We hadn't taken VC money, so we were very capital efficient. So you have no choice but to do it that way. So it definitely came about through reflection and the realization that, hey, there was something here that not only could I reapply, but I could teach other people. And that was kind of where the book came from, to be candid. Just this realization that, hey, some of this stuff is actually easy enough to teach. You don't have to be an anthropologist in training to be able to learn some of these techniques and apply them. For example, I just did a TEDx talk in San Diego, and after my talk, a lot of students from the university came and spoke to me about, I heard so many interesting stories, Niiamah, about like different journeys people had been on and the challenges and their internal struggles and trying to figure out what path they need to go down. So it doesn't matter what stage of life you're in. Everybody kind of has to deal with these kinds of, visible and invisible rules, and everybody has to figure out how to read the invisible side to be able to make decisions that actually they can live with.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, there's something here like in our conversation. Y'all have done great. Like weaving a thread around no, and I'm realizing in this conversation how there was a time in my life that I used to like go and seek no's. And now I've slipped back into a place in my life where I'm like seeking the yeses, right? I'm like, okay, how do I need to package this? How do I need to market this? How do I need to come out to you in such a way that you will say yes, right? And both of you, I want to say like you're invigorating something inside of me that's like, wait a minute, there's a lot of value in going for the no. There's a lot of value in seeking this and seeing it, right? Christiane, like I'm hearing from you like all the way through. You're like the game doesn't even start. The magic doesn't even begin until we start getting to know. Ujwal, you're like one of the things I heard from you in terms of something that outliers can use to like start like deciphering the invisible rules is like when a no comes, like I like you instead of just accepting it, taking that time to like analyze like okay, so what is
Exactly.
the thing underneath it? Why is it up there? And so I want to try and like see how y'all are moving forward. Like I'm gonna go with this like this theme of no's right now. Like what are you taking on right now that is something where you might end up getting a major no, or something that like that you're playing that is like outside of your traditional game. It has you like out of your comfort zone and it has you literally on your edge here. I'm curious about like what you're doing right now and how you're navigating that. Either one of you want to take me up on that one?
I'll start. Uh, I'm more like a long-term student. I
Mhm.
always like to learn something. So, and one of the things when I was a kid, I love to read. So I read a lot. And we're living out in the bushes, far away from the city. So we had this little bus that would come into like it's not even a town. It's like an out post somewhere. So they would bring us some reading, and then. So when after I had my cancer diagnosis and everything, so everything went well. So it's been more than 5 years, but I kept myself saying, I said, this was so easy for me to do. Like it really was easy, by the way. So it was a tough treatments and everything. It was so easy because I knew exactly what to do. My plan was there, everything was there. So why don't I write a book about sharing that experience with entrepreneurs? And my target was those entrepreneurs that did everything. They wear all the hats, they come, the CRO, CFO, CMO, and whatever. So they were like, and then they have to separate. And then cancer diagnosis just for women for breast cancer, it's about 1 out of 8. It's the same thing in Canada than in the United States. So it's just pretty big. And most of the women throughout Canada, and I would say United States also, they're working women, but they have their own small business. So as a small business owner, it's difficult to step away when something like that happens. So I wrote like a book about that, which by the way was number one in the Amazon uh, it goes up and down, but it was at one point many times number one sell in Amazon. So you want to say something, Dina? I don't hear you.
Yeah, there's nothing I needed to say on it. I just want to just acknowledge and celebrate the number one component of it. Good.
So just to answer quickly your question is like so that helped me think, like, tell your story, and then in that story people are gonna they're gonna be able to overcome these I would say like these tough waters. Okay, so if you're navigating a boat, so you're going to be okay to do it, but you're going to have the clear information to do it. So at the end of the book you could say, oh, I want to sell my business, I want to be, I want to do something. That's fine. The purpose is not that. It's to help small business owners and small especially women that have breast cancer, and they're the family support of the household. So for me it was important to do, and it's not very expensive. It's the idea is to show it you can do it, but in a structured way. So and I told my husband, I said, other people manage, like I always tell he's rich, but I don't know that. So he keeps saying he's poor, but I think he's rich. So I said, how do people get to buy that when they don't have the financial support to do it? And he says, Christiane, you're smart. You can just write a book about it. It's going to be, so tell them how to do it. I said, yeah, that makes sense. So this brought me back to when I was a younger kid. I loved to read. Yeah. So I never thought I would be an author, by the way. Never. I never thought in my mind I would do it. So, and then, and I don't even use that book as my go-to entry for consultancy. It's something else. So it was my passion. So that's my first passion. But I call it my ikigai. So
I love this here. Like there's alignment. There's continuing to play through here. Thank you so much for that, Christiane. Like Ujwal, I'd love to get your thoughts too on navigating the nose and something that's taking you out of your comfort zone right now as well.
Yeah, I mean the biggest one taking me out of my comfort zone is launching a book, because it's launching a company. That's fine. I know what I'm doing. Because I've been through it. I know what I'm doing. But launching a book, suddenly you feel so vulnerable. And every little thing, like you got to get endorsements for your book, and reaching out to people that you admire, that you want endorsements from, and of course your usual stuff like 99 out of 100 no's, and then you get the 100th saying yes, I'll do it, and then it's elation. But that stuff is very much out of the comfort zone, but I'm enjoying it. Getting attention on a podcast, getting on radio, whatever, right? Every little thing is a small step that you're doing that makes you uncomfortable. And I think the challenge with discomfort is that our brain convinces us that we shouldn't do it because it's uncomfortable, And so,
yep.
And by the way, that's also another invisible rule, right? That, so, nobody knows you. Why would somebody give you an endorsement for your book? Or why would somebody have you on their radio show or whatever, right? And so constantly, we are constantly battling for credibility in the marketplace, no matter what we do. We're constantly battling for credibility. And, no battle for credibility is worthwhile without being uncomfortable, I think, because that's just part of the process. Like the discomfort leads to eventual credibility and acceptance.
Well, I think that like there's things in here too that, like, as you're saying this, I feel that discomfort over time gets like mitigated. Like you're like, yeah, I build a business, like I know that, like I sold the business and all that. I'm like, that's not easy. That's like, but like, you're like now when you get to doing the book, it's different. But it feels it feels different. Like you're in it right now. You're in the space of getting to it. And I even hear this with Christiane when you're talking about the multiple degrees, like as you're like getting your your postmasters and your masters at the same time, and like you're in South Africa and you have to negotiate with your parents and like make sure that your kids are in good shape and all these other things here. I'm like we see you now on the other side of having to be through all of it, or let's say one of the other sides of being through it all, right? And like this is one of the invisible rules that like that plays out with me. Like the reason we have the conversations in this way is because I'm like, most people don't get that like that when we come and we talk about the things that we've done, right? The epic things that we've done, it wasn't because it was necessarily easy. It was epic, almost to your point, Ujwal. It was epic because of the difficulty. If like no one's gonna read the book of hi, I don't know, I'm able-bodied and I opened my door. It's like that book that there was no stakes in that. There was nothing there. And like this is kind of like as I'm listening to you all talk, it's reminded me, I'm like, Outliers, like take a look at like what is the frame that you're using to see your world right now, right? What is the frame of like of oh, if it's difficult, if it's making me uncomfortable, if like who's gonna believe me? I have two kids here, like I can't go about doing this, so on and so forth, right? And look at that and ask yourself, like, perhaps, as Christiane like, gave us a hint with where the magic is, perhaps the magic is in the struggle. Maybe the thing that we're trying
Mhm.
to avoid is the actual thing that where all of the gifts come from. And now we have so many different ways to navigate it here. Like I would love to get your thoughts on either that, y'all, or anything related to that, or if it pops off something else, let me know too. But we're gonna start wrapping up the conversation. But y'all are inspiring me to see my days different, very differently, to go through and say like, I'm tired of this rule. Like, why does hard have to feel hard? Like hard could be the beginning of growth. Like, what if that was a rule that I decided to carry? You know. So anything popping off for either of you, and then we'll wrap up our conversation.
Christian?
Oh, yeah, I can go first. Well, I would say, like I said, I'm academic type of person. So I studied all my life, and what I did, the first thing is I didn't just throw myself into writing a book. So I made sure I had a team behind me. So I made sure I had a good team. But the first thing I did is I did the market research, and then I said, and it was easy for me. It was just make sure somebody's going to read your book. So that's the first thing. Do a market research, and then put out the team with you to help you. And part of the team was my husband, my sister, my some of my friends, and everything. They were the first readers of the book. So there's always a way to do things. And then what I want to say at the end is like there's a moment in life, like when that day I decided, let's go, I'll do it. Okay, that's when the magic happens. Okay, I have to put this in place, make sure it's all of there. And it's because, and I just want to make sure, it's not because I have all these diplomas, by the way. It's because I work with the best people in the world. Okay, doing the job I did. So they're the one that taught me how to do that. So for me, I always remember what they taught me. So to be diligent, to make sure I did my research and everything. So I had the best bosses. I want to mention that nobody has the option to have a great bosses, but I did get the best of the best. But I seized that moment. I said, okay, let's do it, and it's going to be great, So it's going to be a great book. Everybody's going to love it, and it actually was. So, which I'm pretty. I would say I'm pretty comfortable with that. So I
Yeah,
don't know how to
I like
say
it.
that.
Like feels good. Feels good. Feels good.
Feels
Ujwal, anything for
good.
you? Yeah, it feels good. Let's
Yeah,
do that.
I think what I'd just add is, imposter syndrome is a real thing,
Yeah, yeah.
and doesn't matter what I've done, I still feel like an imposter trying to do something new. And sometimes I'll talk to other entrepreneurs who are just starting their business, and and when I say that to them, they're always surprised, because we don't, when we're in a professional setting, we don't talk about these things that make us vulnerable, right? You're in a sales call, you're not going to say, oh, I feel imposter syndrome pretty much every day when I wake up trying to run this business. They're not going to buy from you, right? But
Yeah.
but I think saying that out loud helps people realize that I don't have anything special that somebody else doesn't have. It's just that you learn to live with those feelings long enough that it allows you to, slowly, I wouldn't say overcome them, but slowly kind of manage them, right? And it doesn't matter how far you go, you still feel like that. And I think the same goes with, like Christiane was saying earlier, being able to ask for something. We all hesitate so much to ask for things. Like, with my book being in soft launch, I've reached out to so many colleagues saying, hey, would you take a look? And it's
Yeah.
amazing how many people respond back saying, yeah, of course, I would be happy to. So what was it that was making me so uncomfortable to ask for some help? Right. And I think these are the types of things that I think the more we're able to ask ourselves, okay, what is the reason I'm telling myself, the logical reason? What's the invisible reason for what I'm not doing, right? Oh, I'm gonna feel embarrassed that somebody ignored me. So what? Right? What's that gonna do? Right? So the more we kind of dissect those moments, I think the better we realize that, hey, we can do so much more than we think we can. And I think that's an important message, really.
Yeah.
I love this. Like y'all have done a great job today tossing like everything on its head. What I got even from like the we can do more than we think we can, and that's like Outliers. Like that's the game we play. Like no, like we've already. I say we're already in rooms that we're not supposed to be in. And so like why stop here? Why stop here? Ujwal, one of the things I like to think about when it comes to the imposter syndrome is that I only ever feel imposter syndrome in one of two situations. One, I'm lying and I'm about who I am, and I'm trying to pretend that I'm something that I'm not. Right? If I'm being honest about it, I'm not like you can. This is the truth, right? And the other thing is I never feel it like again going back to the idea of like opening up the door as an able-bodied person. It's like I don't feel the imposter syndrome opening that up there. It's only when I'm doing something new. And so the imposter syndrome, like you said, like you're always going to feel it. I'm like, you feel it because you keep raising the stakes. You keep going to higher and higher things. If you decided to just run another business or do the same thing you have, you wouldn't feel imposter syndrome because you've done it.
True.
Yeah, it's actually it's to almost like the Christiane's like point. It's like that's where the magic is. If you're not feeling imposter syndrome, you're probably not growing. Like realistically, like at least for us, like that's it. Like we're not here to be comfortable.
It
All right, y'all.
follows you like
So
a bit shadow. That's like your
yeah,
shadow. So
yeah.
it
That's the
follows you.
game we choose
So
to play.
yes,
We're playing a
exactly.
game of growth.
Yeah.
So we're at time, but what I want to do is make sure that Outliers have two things. I want to make sure they know how to go deeper down the journey with you. Let's make sure we cover that, and then have one last question to wrap us up. All right. So Ujwal, we'll start with you, and then Christiane. Like, let's go with you, Ujwal, first. Like, how can Outliers go deeper down the journey with you?
Well, first of all, I have a book called Invisible Rules that's out. You can find it on Amazon or wherever else, or visit invisible-rules.com. And also connect with me if you're an entrepreneur and you just want some advice, some input. I respond to emails and LinkedIn messages constantly because I enjoy connecting with other entrepreneurs. Because obviously when I was starting out, I got so much help. The least I can do is give back. So please don't hesitate.
I love this. Let's Outliers, let's do our part to help make this number one as well. In Ujwal's world, we'll just continue to just get number ones going here. Thank you so much, Ujwal. Like, thanks for playing this. Christiane, the best way people can go deeper with you?
Well, I have a strange name, by the way, so I think anybody can find me in the planet, so that's not a problem. So just type my name in Google, you'll find me somewhere in Canada or the States. If people want to reach out to me for advice about cash flow management, this is my expertise, by the way. So all these studies were for just doing cash flow, so budgeting and stuff like that. I do I spend 1 day per week just doing like free coaching to people. So this is all free. So I ask people, if you want to come in, we can do this on Facebook, we can do this on whatever platform you want, and I will help them coach. And I do the same thing at the university. Once in a while, I go to the university every twice a year, 3 times a year. I go to university to show people to do better cash flows, because without a good cash flow, you're gonna hit a wall. So and there's always a way to remanage the cash flow. Even if you think you're gonna hit the wall, I'll be able to help the person to sort out those deficits.
And if I can just add, like going through the experience of building my business, cash flow management is one of those things that most founders put aside because it's not the fun part of their job, but it's so critical that it can make or break your business's future. So yeah, such an important skill to have.
And then also I use a cash flow metaphor as if you have an unbalanced health, if you're not taking care of yourself first, then you're gonna have to do. You'll be on a cash flow deficit, but physically, so you have to do that.
Mm.
That's important. So better
So,
manage your own
Christiane,
cash flow for
I
business
want to make
owner.
sure like that people have this, so like they can find you online and reach out to you, and if they do,
Yep,
there's at least one day a week that you spend time just like supporting people, right, with
yep,
their cash flow
exactly.
management.
One
Perfect,
one
perfect.
hour, 1 hour, 2 hours per week. So I
Yeah,
help them
this one.
sort it out for free. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Outliers, like this is it. Let's get game on. Let's play this out. Last question, y'all. We're right at the top here. I asked everyone here, what's an insight that you are leaving this conversation with? So, in which way has this conversation been useful for you? And if it hasn't been, you can just be like, we just had a good time. That's totally fine too. But like, I want to wrap with that. We'll do this in about like 30 seconds altogether. But I want to make sure we're good there. So, Christiane, we'll start with you. Then we'll wrap with you, Ujwal.
But for me, it was like a good day to finish my week because, like I said, I came back from vacation. But I want to spread the word. That's the important. That I want to make sure that people understand. This is my legacy, by the way. So I want to make sure that people do understand everything is possible. As long as you have all the clear information to do it, you're in control of the information and you know exactly where you're going. That's the this is I want to share that thing, and I really want to say thank you for inviting me to this podcast. I do some from time to time, but this was fun. So this was fun because the first question you asked myself, you asked me was what kind of cake I liked, to describe myself as a cake. So so I do have a lot of layers and I do have a lot of information to share. So no problem. So it would be
Thank
a
you
pleasure
for
for me
bringing all
to
of
help
that.
you guys. Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. Thank you for bringing it here, Christian. And Ujwal, your takeaway?
Yeah, same for me. I really enjoyed the discussion. A lot of the times being able to unpack the things we work on through a slightly different lens itself is so
Mm-hmm.
helpful for us to, think about the issues, the topics that are top of mind, and just have a slightly different perspective, an outsider perspective. So it's always helpful to
Exactly.
have these discussions. So yeah, thank you.
Lovely, y'all.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much here. Like Outliers, we're gonna keep growing together. Be To the next time we all come together. It's something that's occurred to me. I'm not gonna be here next week, so you're not gonna see any of these conversations happening next week. But we'll be back the week afterwards. All right. Until the
Okay.
next time we talk, be you on purpose. Journey on.